We're now moving into the first of our two member presentations, and I'd like to introduce to you and welcome Sheree James. Sheree is going to be presenting on breaking the cycle, addressing child poverty to prevent out-of-home care. Sheree serves as the Chief Executive Officer and Principal Officer at Family Spirit, bringing over 30 years of experience in community services. Her passion for child protection, out-of-home care and adoptions is evident in her work as an experienced practitioner and academic within the child welfare sector. Welcome, Sheree.
Thank you. Before I begin, I want to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that we're meeting on today, the Gadigal people. I pay my respects to elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people in the room with us today. Aboriginal culture teaches us the importance of kinship, connection, and the care for the whole community. The values that should be at the heart of our responses to every child who experiences poverty. Because it's not just an economic issue, it's about ensuring that every child has the opportunity to thrive, feel connected, supported, and be wrapped around a strong community. As mentioned, my name's Sheree James and I'm honoured to be here today to speak about something that I'm very passionate about. And you now know I'm the CEO at Family Spirit, have been and for the last 2 years, entering my third year, and the Principal Officer, plus also, I think just over 30 years experience in the sector. At Family Spirit, we provide foster care, adoptions, and other programs associated in supporting vulnerable families on their journey to reach stability. But our work goes deeper. We focus on prevention, early intervention, strengthening families so that they can remain safe and supported and connected to their communities. It was Sharon that highlighted to us earlier in her discussion around what poverty looks like for children, and I think it really resonated to me around the deficits that children experience in relational aspects, and I had the opportunity to speak to Sharon about that briefly at lunchtime. As highlighted, we're one of the wealthiest nations, and unfortunately we have one of the largest overrepresentation of Indigenous children in the out-of-home care sector and in front of the child protection agencies. We know that poverty is one of the key creators, one of the key reasons why these children experience these barriers. We know that families experience poverty for a number of reasons, and unfortunately some of those reasons differentiate culturally from white communities, and I hate differentiating by colour, to Aboriginal communities. We know right now that the New South Wales Department of Communities and Justice is working under pressure, immense pressure, and when I speak to my colleagues in the department, their pressure is probably worse than ours in the sector out in the NGO space. As a sector response then, I think we need to align with our government bodies, whether that be in New South Wales or across Australia, and we need to go back to our mission and think creatively around what else we can bring apart from our contractual obligations, because we're coming from it from a very different lens. We're coming from it, to me, from vocational dignity, and so mission should be at the heart of that, not just compliance around contracts. And it's this purpose that I hope that I have brought to Family Spirit and will continue to do so. Because we have to address child poverty. We can't see children entering the out-of-home care space as rapidly as they are, and we can't continue to have the overrepresentation of Indigenous children in that space. We know that if we put models of intervention in place, that it actually does have a significant impact on the result of whether children enter out-of-home care or not. And we saw a huge investment around 2016 in New South Wales by the Department of Communities and Justice through their Futures Matter, where they invested in several models of intervention that were evidence-based and informed, MST CAN, Multisystemic Family Therapy, Child Abuse Neglect, FFT. But these are just a multitude of really good programs. MST came out of the Medical University of South Carolina. Very well evidenced, foundations in Batesonian theory. If you're a clinician like myself and you really like that sort of jam, I like the guy before me, David, with his finance stuff, went over my head. This probably would go over some other people's head. But these models really do work. And I've had the privilege of studying them and piloting them clinically, and clinically in the space of with Aboriginal communities as well. Great models, but unfortunately, they don't work as effectively for Aboriginal children and families. So at Family Spirit, we recognise that this is not the answer for early intervention for some of our families. And myself, in collaboration with a couple of ACOs, took the research from several of the evidence-based models, ARC being one of them, MST being another one, and we collaboratively came together to start to work on what could be an evidence-informed, because an evidence-based means it's been piloted and tested. Evidence-informed means that it's come from a rational evidence model. So there's a difference there. So we can't call it evidence-based, but evidence-informed. Why did we do this? Because we wanted to create positive change for Aboriginal children and families in a safe cultural way. We know that one size doesn't fit all, and we recognise that in Aboriginal communities, there's not the social ecology that can wrap around and support these models of intervention. Weave was created out of that. So Weave, as we know, blending everything together in a meaningful way, and it's a traditional art form of the Aboriginal community. Weave was not created in an office. I just want to put that into perspective. It was built through yarning, co-design, and the voices of Aboriginal elders, Aboriginal controlled agencies, and families with lived experience of the child protection system. Weave is about cultural connections, healing, and community-led strengths. It's not the model that everyone expects, and it's in a language and terminology that probably speaks more to Aboriginal families and communities than it would to white folk. It honours the strengths of Aboriginal ways of raising children, and it's based through relational aspects of kinship, storytelling, deep connections to land and culture. This kind of forward thinking and this cultural responsiveness is what I want to hopefully ignite in this audience today to lean into and work more collaboratively with. I'll talk to you about some of the differences. In white models, we talk about children having challenging behaviours. In Aboriginal communities, we talk about behaviours that challenge you. So that child might have acted the same yesterday and called you, an F&C or whatever name he called you. It didn't bother you yesterday, but today that behaviour challenges you. And so it's about your reaction and why it is at that particular point in time. Aboriginal families respect that and understand that children will respond differently, and we will respond differently to them around what's happening at that moment of time. So these are how models are very different. So we had the opportunity of working, as I said, not in an office, but developing this program, this model of care, this framework. We then went back and worked with it in alignment to current practices like MST CAN, home builders that are all based on motivational interviewing and a whole array of things. Could take some of the concepts and marry them against because they did align, some of them didn't. And then we had to then speak to how do we collect data and measures, because we know that government agencies want those, but they could be done so that they weren't subjected to the child, but more so to the community to be able to respond to. And as a practitioner, I was able to do that with other partners who are practitioners to find the most robust tools that we could use to measure outcomes that would be acceptable for contractual obligations, and then spoke back to elders about them using them and testing them and piloting them with us. So we were able to publish Weave in December 2024, last year. The Department of Communities and Justice in New South Wales have accepted it as a therapeutic model of care for Aboriginal children. TAO, the Aboriginal Outcomes Unit, have also accepted it as a model of intervention. And so we're very proud of the fact that we can actually give now back to ACCOs to say, here, you can use a evidence-informed model. You can actually collect measures and demonstrate the damn good work that you are doing that can speak to white folk and get the outcomes that you need in order to get the contract and the viability for your sustainability, because we never want to set up an ACCO to fail. But this is what I mean. You know, we're in out-of-home care, and unfortunately in Family Spirit, over 60% of our children are from Indigenous backgrounds. And whilst I'll always lead steadfast from a culturally safe perspective, I believe that our mission is to do more than that, and to do those pieces of work that close the gap. And so that's what I want to leave with you today, is that don't just think of your contracts as being that. Think about what your mission is, and think about how you can do things differently in order to create positive and steadfast change that responds authentically to communities. That's
A big thank you to Sheree, and in particular, Sheree, the way in which you were able to speak to both practice and theory and models, and the experience of First Nations people and communities and other communities. Thank you for both of those elements.